Good morning, YouTube. Hey guys, how you doing? Bible Skeptic here, out on his bike on a lovely summer morning here in Colorado on my new Indian Scout 60 motorcycle. Yeah, I traded in the Honda, got a new bike, absolutely love this thing. Can't get enough ride time with this bugger, but God, I love this bike. Oh goddamn, I look cool. Hey, goddamn, looking good, old man. Couple bits of news, and then I'm going to get into the meat of this video. The first bit of news is I know you guys, I told you guys that I would be making a new video, a rather large project, and I am still working on that project. I can't tell you exactly how far along I am on it. Maybe a quarter of the way. Hard to say. It's just taking a lot longer than I thought it would take to get through it. But I'm still working on it, so don't worry, it's on its way. The second bit of news is I am going to open up a new channel just for these motorcycle videos. Kind of separate them out from the Bible Skeptic stuff. I'll talk about a lot of different things on that channel while I'm out on the bike. Probably still a lot of atheist-oriented, Bible-oriented stuff, but I want to open it up so I can do, you know, just different things. So, with that said, I don't have a name for the new channel. So if you guys could come up with a name for me, I threw out a couple names myself, came up with like TBS Rides or something like that. But they're not, you know, it's just not all that catchy. So I know you guys, I got a lot of clever people in the audience out there. So if any of you guys could come up with a clever, catchy name for the new channel, well, I'll be posting these motorcycle vids, including the bad drivers or the dumb drivers of Denver. That would really be helpful, appreciated, and I will use that name on the new channel. And this video will be the last video that I put on the Bible Skeptic channel, and I'll mirror it over on the new channel as the inaugural video. So as the inaugural video, I thought it would be an awful lot of fun if I did another mockery and answer, sort of, I guess, to a Shock of God motorcycle video. Yeah, you know those. You remember our good friend Shock of God and what he thinks of us atheists?
You know, on YouTube, as you guys know, my challenge is still out. I've been challenging atheists all over the world to answer this one simple question, but since 2013, I believe, they haven't answered it. Here's the question. Pray tell, what proof and evidence can you provide as a sweet, cuddly, huggable atheist that would finally prove that atheism is accurate and correct? Or, my atheist friends, are you just going to jibba-jabba?
Oh yeah, jibba jabba. That's what it's all about, folks. Nothing but jibba jabba. In this video of Shock's, he goes through the top 10 lame reasons atheists give for atheism, or something like that, because, you know, we're not very accurate. Maybe what Shock's trying to say is Acura. In defending atheism. So he goes through what he thinks are his top 10 reasons given by atheists for why atheism is true and accurate. In this video, I will not be going through all 10 of them. Kind of like the Bob Duco stuff, I'm going to be doing them one at a time. Yeah, to keep it short, you know. So in this video, his first reason, or lame reason that atheists give for atheism, is that God doesn't exist because there's evil in the world. So for Shock, he's saying that the reason there is evil in the world is because, well, first of all, he says,
God did not create it that way.
So God didn't mean for it to happen. So something that was outside of God's will apparently happened anyway, because God did a second thing.
He gave man and woman free will, and it is mankind that chose to rebel against God.
And you guys all well know about the argument of free will. I've even got a video, I'll post it down in the description below, for the reason for free will. I personally don't see why free will has anything to do with the existence of what is considered evil. You can have free will without evil. Free will itself doesn't necessitate evil. Free will can be an exercise among multiple choices. For example, God apparently had the free will to make a world in which evil didn't exist, and yet free will did. Unless somehow God, unless somehow people like Schoch, the theists, are saying that God is incapable of doing something like that. That somehow these things are logically necessary. And if they're logically necessary, then there's something outside of God's ability to overcome it. Logical deductions or inductions. God cannot create a world with free will without evil. And that's something that just doesn't, I'm sorry, but that just doesn't necessarily follow logically, because it can. But at any rate, that's his excuse. Now, he comes up with a couple of others, which are just nothing more than variations on the same thing that he said.
Also, we have Satan in the world, which adds to the evil. And we live in a fallen world, okay?
Yeah, so a fallen world is nothing more than a world with free will, according to Christian theology. So that's no reason whatsoever, an additional reason for why there's evil in the world. But it gets better. Schoch begins to say that the reason that the existence of evil isn't just something that is a necessary evil, so to speak, in God's world, but that evil itself is an argument for theism. And not just any theism, not the theism of an indifferent God or an evil God, but argument for Christian theism.
Evil is actually an argument for Christian theism.
And he expounds on this a little bit further.
Because throughout the whole Bible, it's talked about this battle of good and evil. But atheists don't want to say there's evil. So on atheism, we're all just evolved animals. That's what they say. So why would there be evil in the world? In fact, the atheists actually admitting that God exists, saying that there are things that are evil in the world, because on atheism, why would there be evil?
Now here's the problem that Schoch has, and on most theists do, when it comes to this problem of evil. And guys, this is not going to be some deep philosophical conversation. This bike isn't the place to get into deep theological conversations. I don't have a script I'm reading. This is all off the top of this little cuddly atheist noggin, right? But Schoch and other theists seem to believe, or seem to think of evil as some sort of a substance. It's a platonic form. It actually exists. That it's something that it doesn't describe. It's something that is. And he mentions this in an apparent debate, that's what I'm looking for, in an apparent debate that he had with an atheist, in which the atheist admits that something like rape, which is evil, could be evil just because it is, as though it's a circular argument.
You know, in my debate with Steve Chives, and he very sweetly and kindly admitted that he lost the debate to me, very humbly speaking as I bow my head to the ground. All glory to God. He said, I go, well, Steve, on atheism, you can't even prove that rape is wrong. You got atheists saying that rape is not wrong. They'll say it's subjectively wrong or subjective, but it's not objectively wrong. And Steve said, well, maybe it's just wrong because it's wrong, like circular logic.
The atheist fell into the exact same trap of assuming that evil is something that is, that it exists, that it has independent existence. And I'm sorry, it doesn't. Here's the problem. At a fundamental level, we are nothing more than physical matter, right? So we're made up of molecules, and those molecules are made up of atoms, and the atoms themselves are made up of smaller particles like up quarks and down quarks and things like that. These all follow fundamental physical laws. So when we describe something, or if you were to go down to the fundamental level of something that is considered evil, for example, to use Schock's example, rape. Rape at a fundamental particle level is nothing more than energy, velocity, the position of these atoms, right? That's all it really is. Now, this is where the theist loves to jump on us and say, see, you guys, you have no reason to say that rape is bad or wrong. You admit that it's nothing more than the interplay of physical forces. So how could you call an atom evil? And I'm going to tell you something. He's absolutely right. There's nothing evil, nothing inherently evil or bad or wrong about the velocity, the position, the energy, positive, negative energy of an atom or a particle. But that doesn't help us in the world that we live in the macro world, because while the cars around me, the street that I'm on, the air that I'm breathing, the clouds that are in the sky, the mountains off to the side here, well, indeed, all of these are nothing more than particles and molecules, atoms, and their movement, their positions. It doesn't help me to talk to you about that mountain over there. See it? There's nothing at all helpful for me to talk about that mountain. You see that collection of atoms over there? You see that? There's and I don't know, some quadrillion atoms over there that are moving at this velocity or have this energy. It's not going to help us talk about it. It's not going to help you navigate your world or to increase anything of your personal happiness, which I understand. Happiness is, again, a product of our brain. It's a product of our, what's what I'm thinking of molecules. It's an emergent quality of something that is fundamentally the same as everything else. But it helps us to talk about it and to express it to one another so that we make sense of it to ourselves, because we don't live at that level. While it undergirds us, while it's the bedrock of what we are, we don't live at that level. We don't live at the atomic level. We don't live at the quantum level. So speaking about events or what's in our world at that level isn't at all helpful. So it's the same thing with evil, or what we term evil. Evil for us is a judgment on something that affects the world in which we live in. So for me, and for most people, this lady over here in this car, the people living in those houses, we want to maximize our happiness. We want to be happy, healthy people. It releases chemicals in our brains that makes us feel a certain way, and we want to pursue that feeling. It makes us happy. So to maximize that happiness, we need to minimize those things that make us unhappy. And some of the things that make us unhappy make us extremely unhappy or uncomfortable, or actually remove life from us. Those are the things we like to term evil. Again, nothing more than a collection of atoms following a particular physical law and the laws of physics. But regardless, they behave a certain way. They're behaving in such a way that I could describe scientifically, very, mathematically, scientifically, objectively. But they do not help us at all describe the world in which we live in. At the level that we live at it. So for Schock, evil exists. I mean, for people like Schock, we need to let them know. Evil exists as a way that we efficiently describe, things in our world that we want to avoid and minimize as much as possible. So I, as a human being, want to maximize my happiness. Again, I don't want to get into a philosophical argument. I'm just trying to explain that evil itself does not exist as an independent entity. It's not something that comes into existence and has independent agency. It is how we describe events that are occurring around us. So what Schock and these guys need to understand is that evil exists in our world as atheists, and we can explain it perfectly well using language that we have developed. But evil should not exist in a world in which there is a benevolent God. That's the problem that they seem to misunderstand or ignore, is that benevolence, and I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's omni-benevolence. So it's all omni-good benevolence. So omni-benevolent. An omni-benevolent being wants all good. And in an all-good world, evil doesn't exist. What they've done is they've said, well, in order to maximize goodness, God has to allow free will to exist, and that free will necessarily includes evil. So evil is actually part of good. Got it? This is how they think. Where they end up enveloping evil itself into the definition of good, which is something that an atheist would never do. I'm not going to confuse something that I think is good, and then, again, what I'm going to label as good, like riding the bike. I love riding the bike. This is good. Somebody hitting me on purpose is something that is evil. Okay? Now, ultimately, it's nothing more than molecules colliding with one another on the fundamental level. But on the level that we actually exist at, I can label these things, and I will not confuse them. And I will not say that somebody who hits me intentionally with their car is doing something that will bring a greater good. All right? Now, maybe I could rationalize it that way, and that's kind of the point, is that when you are labeling things like this, you're labeling them. You're not actually objectifiably describing them. You're labeling them. You're judging them. And that's something we are capable of doing. And that's something that people like Schock are also engaging in when they make these silly arguments for their God and saying that evil is actually a part of good. But in an omnibenevolent, if we're going to take that definition seriously, and if it's going to have any meaning at all, omnibenevolence is not going to include evil. God, an all-powerful being, is going to be able to have a way, make a way, in which his goodness is maximized without evil. It just goes with the definition of another quality of God's omnipotence. He is all-powerful. He can produce a world, and you could think of a world in which there's all goodness, free will, and no evil. And as a matter of fact, that is the world in which Schock thinks he's going to go to when somebody flies out from an intersection and knocks him off his bike and cracks his little unprotected skull on the pavement. He thinks he's going to go to a place which is all good, absent of evil, and yet exists with free will. It's called heaven, and they believe in it. So don't fall for this bullshit that they're trying to give you, that goodness cannot exist, or free will, I'm sorry, cannot exist without goodness, unless they're willing to say that heaven exists without free will, so that when they die, the free will that they've enjoyed on earth will disappear. Hey, brother. Right? And that, my friends, is the inaugural video to the new Bible Skeptic writing channel, whatever name you guys can give me, if I find a good one. Otherwise, I'll have to make up my own. You guys will have to groan and live with it. And I will be seeing you guys soon, next time. Peace out.